Today I'm going to share with you 5 morning rituals that will make you superhuman. These routines go far beyond productivity 101 stuff that you might be familiar with. While that stuff is really cool, I do some of that stuff myself. These routines, in addition to be scientifically validated, they've also been shown to activate higher forces, higher frequencies, and these types of frequencies are what can really make that superhuman resonance come into play. So let's get started right now. Morning ritual number 1, the 60-second breath hold ritual. So one thing that you might not be familiar with is that breath holds are one of the best ways to clear energetic blockages and open your magnetic field. They've been scientifically proven to create calm, present states, and they've also been practiced in ancient traditions like yoga and Taoism for thousands and thousands of years. When you hold your breath, you get into a relaxed, calm, receiving state. And this is a state that's really impossible to duplicate anywhere else. So that is why I recommend you do breath holds. So I have a very simple ritual for you. All you need to do is you need to breathe in, exhale, only through your nose only. At the end of the exhale, hold your breath for at least 30 seconds, ideally more, 30 to 60 seconds. And if you do it more often, then of course you'll develop your capacity even more. So it goes like this. That's all you need to do. And what I actually recommend is spend about at least 5 to 10 minutes getting to a relaxed state before doing that first breath hold. That actually will help you get into that calm state. And due to the way the parasympathetic nervous system works, you'll actually be able to have longer breath holds. And I recommend doing at least one of those to get your frequency in that calm, centered state. And I actually do 5 every single morning, but do 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, and that's going to really help unlock that magnetic field and raise your frequency throughout the day. Once we do that, then we can go on to our next morning ritual. Now let's get into our frequency tuning meditation. This is our second morning ritual that will make you superhuman. Now, most likely you know about meditation. You probably practice some kind of meditation yourself if you're watching this video, which is awesome. That meditation has been scientifically proven to create calm states, to increase performance, many other things. I don't need to sell you on how awesome meditation is, I hope. And you might also be aware that meditation is essentially, it's like a workout for your vibration. It's a way for you to actually build your vibration and reach higher and higher frequencies. So what I want to share with you now is actually my personal meditation protocol. This is something that I've been optimizing for well over a decade. I really got deep into meditation back in 2012. So that was over 13 years ago. And so here's exactly how I go about doing my morning meditation. And I'm always optimizing this. So if you watch this video in the future, you might see something even different, even better. But this is the best that I have for now. So here is how it works. I'm just going to describe it to you. I'm not going to do a guided meditation. That's something that I'll share with you at a later point in time. But here is the actual process. It's incredibly powerful. So first, I recommend you get into that calm, relaxed state, doing those breath holds like we described in ritual number 1. And then after you do that, I recommend you really build that frequency even more. What I like to do is I like to visualize a sun rising and then that sun, the rays of the sun glaring down on me and filling my body up with that luminous white light. And then I imagine that light spreading all through my body. And then I actually visualize it spreading out to my body and into the entire universe. And then I recommend that you do this. And what I visualize is I recommend that white light essentially guiding me up and into the heavens, and actually me becoming one with the universe, becoming one with the field, as we like to say in the woo circles. And then once I'm in that point, I'll actually get into an even calmer state. I like to repeat the mantra: calm body, calm mind. Calm body, calm mind. I'll repeat that to myself over and over and over again. And then once I feel as though I'm in a really nice, calm, centered, abundant state, then I do some embodiment mantras. My favorite mantra that I do is I like to say the words: I'm love, I'm limitless, I'm abundance. I'm love, I'm limitless, I'm abundance. I'll say it to myself at least 3 times, sometimes more depending on how much time I have. Another pro tip I have for you is that sometimes people don't resonate with these I am statements. They feel a little weird. So an optimization you could use is say you're a wave of those things. I'm a wave of abundance. I'm a wave of love. I'm a wave of tranquility. That's a way to kind of soften it and hopefully help you feel into that high vibrational state even more. Okay, the next part of the meditation is a loving kindness process. So if you're familiar with loving kindness, it's really awesome. You can go learn about it. It's an ancient Buddhist practice. And what we do here is we send feelings of love and kindness first to ourselves and then to other people. So this is a very classic loving kindness process. I definitely did not make this up. So the mantra that you use, it's essentially, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. If you're talking about to another person, may he be happy, may he be safe, may he live with ease. You can really do this in any order, but the way I personally do it and the way it's typically taught is first you send those feelings of loving kindness to yourself, then to your close people, your family, your significant other, your children, then maybe people like your friends, your extended family, and then think about, people that you don't know as well. Could be like strangers. That's a thing I like to do. Sometimes I'll send love to the person at the gym or the person, the receptionist or the person at the grocery store, things like that. So essentially it's like, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. Then I'll send that to my wife. May she be safe, may she be happy, may she be healthy, may she live with ease. Then I'll send it to my daughter. Then I'll typically think of like 1 or 2 other family members, like my brother, my mom, or an uncle or something like that. Then I might think of 1 or 2 friends. And then I might, again, think of that person at the gym or whatnot. And then I send love to the entire world. May we be safe. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we live with ease. And I really recommend, don't stress about it. Just get into those feelings of love and kindness and just trust that you're doing it right. If you want to get more fancy, if you want to play with it, you can also visualize like what color is love to you. Might be, whatever color it is for you. And you could like imagine yourself sending maybe that color light to that person, or that kind of powerful, white source energy to that person. That's a thing you could play with. Don't really stress about it if this is your first time doing it. Just trust that you're doing it right. So after we do our loving kindness meditation, this is a great time to get into gratitude. Gratitude is awesome. It's the ultimate state of receiving, and it's kind of the easiest way to feel abundant is to appreciate the abundance that we already have, that's already there, which we already have both internally and externally. So just kind of calling attention to that is really, really powerful. So what I like to do is 30 to 60 seconds, just thinking about things I'm grateful for. Typically that's about 3 to 5 things. It's better if you can think of different things every day, just because that activates the kind of gratitude muscles even more. And then at the end of that, I will just say the words, thank you, thank you, thank you, repeatedly. So that's the next part of the meditation. Then the next part after that is a visualization, visualizing our goals, something that we want to happen in the future. Because now that we're in this receiving state, it's a perfect time to visualize the brighter future. So here you can, unlimited options, literally unlimited options. Sometimes I might think of something I want to accomplish next month. Sometimes it might be something important that day that I really want to nail. Or it could be I'm thinking about my 10-year vision or my 20-year vision or my 3-year vision or my 5-year vision. I'll just kind of feel into that. And here's something that I actually learned from Richard Dotz, which is a total game changer for me when it comes to kind of visualizing and manifestation. A lot of manifestation teachers teach, try to imagine what it's like to have that $1 million in your bank account, or what it's like to be in that car. And that kind of just creates tension because it's like we're forcing it. So what I learned from Richard Dotz is just think about, if you had that thing, what is it about having that thing that would please you, that would make you feel good? So just kind of like play with it, It's kind of a lighter tone. So, oh wow, what would please me about that? What would be awesome about this? And just get into that feeling of expansion. And that's really, really, really powerful. And you'll find out the more you're in these expanded states, the more you're actually going to manifest more of that abundance in the real world for a variety of reasons, which I talk about in other videos. So that is actually the final part of the meditation. And actually, at the very end of visualization, I'll say the words, "It is done, it is done, it is done," which is a pretty typical manifestation type mantra. Now that I've gone through all of this, I'm in a really, really awesome, high vibrational, relaxed state. And then typically I will just stay in the state for a few minutes longer and just enjoy being in that state. Because the longer you're in the state, the more you're able to reach those higher states of consciousness, and the more you're actually going to be able to manifest more in the real world as well. So to recap the meditation, first we do our breath holds. Then we imagine that light going into us, expanding, levitating us into the heavens. And then imagine the embodiment statements. I'm love, I'm limitless, I'm abundance, or I'm a wave of those things. Then we do our loving kindness. Then we do our gratitude. Then we do our visualization. And then we end in that calm, amazing, awesome state. So this entire process, you can do it realistically, to do all those steps, to do them at least, just to give them the proper due. Minimum takes about 10 minutes or so. I can do this for an hour if I have more time, which sometimes I do it for an hour. It's just about staying in each of those stages for longer periods of time. And that's how you could do. Like if you're in each of them, there's like 5 or so stages, 6 if you include the part at the beginning. So if you do 10 minutes each, that's a 60-minute meditation. So that is your frequency tuning meditation. And it is extraordinarily powerful. So I highly recommend you check it out. So now let's get into ritual number 3. Ritual number 3 is our sacred genius work. So now that we've gotten to this amazing state from our breath holds and our meditation, now is a great time to actually get into our genius work. This is our most important work that we can do. This is our focus work that only we can do. This is when we are in our genius. This is essentially when we are creating. And the thing is that attention is our most valuable asset. So we want to control our attention, and we want to actually be doing this genius work before we allow any external inputs into our brain. Because the thing is that it's almost like we start the day with a certain amount of attention points, essentially. And every time we do something like check email, check social media, watch something on TV, that essentially drains our attention because we have to process those types of things. So we want to really utilize our attention, which is one of our biggest superpowers. We want to use it in the mornings before we've had it tempered by anything else, and in the mornings when our willpower is typically the highest. So what I recommend you do after you're in that good state is directly get to your desk and do your most important work. What is the most important thing that you need to do that day, which ideally is something creative. Something creative is what I recommend. And you want to do this before checking email, before checking Slack, before checking social media and whatnot. It is critically important. If you study geniuses, what you'll find is that they typically work in 90-minute blocks, and they're typically working between 4 to 5 hours a day, the average being 4.5 hours, which essentially is 3 90-minute blocks per day. And now, to be totally honest, these days there's very few people that can do 3 solid 90-minute blocks per day, just because of the way, like if you're running a business, for example, you might just have other obligations. Like if you work with clients, for example, you might have meetings. There's a variety of things, but everybody can do at least 1 to 3 hours in the morning. And just to close this loop, the people who can really do like 4 or 5 hours, they are people who are literal, like they're just writers. Like that's all they do, for example. They're just creators. That's all they do. And that is awesome. More power to them. And if you're in that situation, take advantage of that. I admire you for that. But that is not the situation that most of us are in. So anyways, most of us can do 1 to 3 hours of genius work every morning, really before noon is what I'm talking about. And so you just want to break that up into however much time you have. So studies also show that we can really do no more than 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours at high levels of focused work in one session before our brain needs a break. So really just think about how much time you have and then just break up the time accordingly. So for example, so if you just have an hour, then I would just recommend do a solid 1 hour. But if you have 2 hours, what I would recommend doing is you might do like 50, 55 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and then do another 50, 55 minutes. And if you have like a longer chunk, like a 3-hour chunk, then I would recommend do like 75 minutes if you can, take a 15-minute break, then do your next 75 minutes. Play with the time, you get it. I promise you, just doing this, especially after you've done the breath work and the meditation, you are going to be creating amazing stuff. And if you do this for a longer period of time, consistency is a superpower. So if you're creating like this every day, every week, every month, those months start to compound and you're going to be able to create some amazing output and make some amazing progress in your business and your career. It is a complete game changer. So I'm really excited for you to take advantage of your sacred genius work. All right, our next ritual is energy activating movement. So after we've done our genius work, now is a great time to actually get out there and actually move our bodies, get some intentional exercise in. Because obviously you most likely know about the benefits of exercising, not just for your longevity, also for your energy and much more. And also the universe is dynamic, so it wants us to move with it. So if we're moving literally and figuratively, then that means we are more aligned with the universe. So that's really critical. Of course, you're aware there is a little infinite amount of exercise routines, different systems you can use. The main thing that most experts agree on is that typically about 30 to 60 minutes of movement per day is what is recommended. And that could be light, depending on kind of where your fitness levels are at. So really what I'm saying is after you do your genius work, that's a great time to transition into doing your intentional 30 to 60 minutes of movement. You want to do more. Sometimes I do workouts that take 65, 75, 90 minutes. 90 minutes is kind of the longest I'll go, to be totally honest. But I'm typically working out for about an hour on average per day. So that's basically it. And the reason why you want to do this, I highly recommend you work out after you do your genius work, is because, again, your willpower is strongest in the morning. And so we really want to take advantage of that by doing our most important work before we use up willpower points to work out. That's just the way it works. And the thing is, when you do work out, you actually will get, because the way endorphins work in your body, you're actually going to get an energy boost throughout the day. So it's almost like you're double dipping because you use your kind of morning, hopefully you slept well, you did your meditation, you do that morning grounding stuff to get you in a good situation to do your deep work. You do your deep work where, you could be a little bit maybe mentally tired by that. Then we work out to kind of get that energy back up there. And that's going to help us finish our, start our afternoons strong and finish our day strong. So the power of movement is no joke. I'm excited for you to get moving. Okay, our final superhuman morning routine is digital intermittent fasting and sacred silence. These two, which I'll combine into one ritual, these are also a complete game changer. I mentioned previously in this video that our attention is our most valuable asset. So now we're talking about the importance of doing our deep work, doing our genius work. But we want to make sure we really guard our attention in the mornings at all times. Again, like I mentioned, it's kind of like another metaphor I want to give to you is imagine each day your brain starts out as like a white sheet, essentially. It's clear, the attention is clear, there's no external inputs. But every external inputs we have, especially bad ones, like scrolling on social media or just wasting time on the internet, those can kind of stain that bed sheet. We want to keep that, because we have to process all of that, as I mentioned. But we want to keep that bed sheet as clean as possible at all times, especially in the mornings. And the other thing here is that if our mind is free of external inputs, that gets us into a place of solitude. And this is where we're alone with our thoughts, and we can actually connect better with those higher forces. There's nothing blocking them, if that makes sense. It's like this direct, or more of a direct connection to kind of our intuition, our heart center, and the universe itself when we're not taken down by external inputs. So the way we do this is two things: digital intermittent fasting and sacred silence. They're essentially two sides of the same coin. So you're most likely familiar with the idea of intermittent fasting as it's related to food, which the most common intermittent fasting protocol, it really involves skipping breakfast, like the 16-8 protocol people talking about. That means you have a 16 hours where you're not eating, and then you only eat in a 8-hour window. And typically that would mean that you eat between like noon and 6 to 8 p.m. And then let's say you have your last meal at 6 p.m. Then you're not going to eat till noon the next day. I think that's actually 18 hours. So if you did 8 p.m. to noon, that is 16 hours, if my math is correct. So regardless of the math, I recommend you do the exact same thing as this with the way you consume digital inputs. What I mean by this is no external inputs before noon. That really means no email, no social media. Those are really the big culprits. No Slack, ideally. None of that before noon, and none of that after you're done with your work day, which is 6, 8, let's say 6 p.m. for most people, 5, 6 p.m. if you're a healthy person. Hopefully you're not working past 6 p.m., which is a topic of another video. So I just recommend you follow that protocol. So you're only really consuming those inputs in that window of around noon to 5, 6 p.m. This is going to keep your mind clear for, especially during that morning, during that deep work time in the morning. And then it's also going to allow you to sleep better and be more clear and present with your family in the evenings as well. So it's really, really, really dynamic and powerful. And as part of this, kind of a subpart of digital intermittent fasting, is the idea of sacred silence. So what I highly recommend you do, to the extent you can, especially before you do your deep work, is no music, no audio inputs, essentially. Embrace the silence is what I tell my clients. So that means in the morning, I don't recommend you do things like listen to podcasts, even listen to music, even listen to audiobooks, to be totally honest. That's pretty much next level. So definitely don't do that. To get a little more granular here, so definitely don't do that before you do your morning deep work, after you do that. Now, to be totally fair, if let's say you do it, you're up early, you're up at whatever time, and then you're done with that morning deep work block, let's say you're done at 11 a.m., 10 a.m., and then you're going to go to the gym or whatnot, then, don't stress about it. If you're going to listen to a podcast when you're at the gym, if you're going to listen to music when you're at the gym, all good. But hopefully you appreciate what I'm trying to make. And I would actually experiment with just not listening to anything for a little bit, because you're going to find that it's going to have this amazing clarity and presence that's just really impossible to duplicate otherwise. So that is our final superhuman ritual, and I know you're going to get a lot out of it. These 5 videos that I shared with you today are total game changers, and they will literally make you superhuman and give you superhuman results. If you just did one of them and really committed to it, that would be amazing. But if you did all 5 of them consistently, you will find that they're going to create exponential improvements, not just for your frequency, but for your results that you achieve in the real world. So I'm very excited I was able to share these with you. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to embody the frequency of a multimillionaire. So I hope you're excited about that. In the meantime, please like and subscribe to this video if it's your first time here. This is Ron Reich. Keep being awesome, and I'll talk to you soon.